So welcome everybody. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Today, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that for most of you, you probably have never been to an event like the one that I have planned for you today. And certainly the topic that I'll be covering today, most of you have probably never seen, right? Because I'm not only going to be showing you a brilliant investment strategy, which I definitely have one for you here today. I'm also going to show you how you can leverage your investment skills to change your family's financial future forever. And I'm going to show you how you can create a private banking system for your family that will last for 360 years, right? So if you're serious about leaving a financial legacy for your family, it doesn't really get any better than the information that I'm going to share with you today. So if this sounds intriguing to you, I'm going to suggest that you maybe grab a notepad, something to write with, because you will likely want to take notes over the next 20 minutes as I reveal what I believe to be the most powerful structure that you've ever seen for brilliantly investing your capital while automatically creating a financial legacy for your family. And then afterwards, what I'll do is I'll stick around for 10 minutes or so to answer your questions through the chat. And so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Desi Arnaz, and I am a senior fund manager of the Everly May Capital Group. Now, the Everly May Capital Group is a $100 million private real estate investment fund. And I've been a full-time investor since 1982. But in addition to that, I'm also the trustee of a multi-generational investment trust that I created to serve as a private banking system for my family for the next 350 plus years. And I'm going to show you how you can create an investment trust that produces profits and cash flow for you today, right now, while at the same time creating an amazing legacy for your family. And when it's all said and done, I think that we can all agree that the reason we do the stuff we do, the reason we invest, is because we want to make a better life for ourselves and for our family. Is that fair? Is that a fair statement? All right. Good. So let's get started. As I said, I've been doing this a long time. I'm not a young man anymore. I'm 71 years old. And certainly my age and my life experiences have given me a different perspective than that of a young man. Like some of you, I worked for decades following a plan that society had laid out for us. And you guys know the plan, right? It's go to school, study hard so that you can what? So that you can get a good job, right? Of course, that's what it's about. And then after that, you're supposed to work for 40 hours a week for 40 years. And then after that, you get to retire and enjoy your golden years. I call that the 40-40 plan, the 40-40 plan, 40 hours a week for 40 years, right? And like a lot of people, as a young man, I bought into that plan. However, as I matured, I began to look around, and you probably have noticed this too, but I noticed that some of the most successful people that I met, that's not the plan that they followed. And I thought, wonder if there could be something else I should be doing. And I also noticed that most of my friends and family that did follow the 40-40 plan were just getting by in life, right? They were living paycheck to paycheck. Now, don't get me wrong, they drove nice cars, they lived in decent houses, but a lot of that was on credit, right? And life has taught me that living on credit is like building a house on sand. And in the Bible, the book of Matthew calls a man foolish if he builds his house on sand rather than on a solid rock. So listen, I'm not trying to put anyone down. In fact, after working for more than 33 years, that's exactly where I was. I had built my house on sand. And in 2008, when the economy crashed, the US economy crashed, I lost my house. I lost my business. I lost my car. I went bankrupt. And ultimately, at 55 years old, I even had to get on food stamps just so that I can keep food on the table. And it was really, for me, a financial low point in my life, an emotional low point in my life. Some of you guys have maybe never had to deal with really, really hard times in your life. But once you do, you realize, oh my gosh, this, what the things that I thought were solid ground under me were not. It was built on sand. And after being financially devastated as a senior citizen, I was faced with a choice. Okay. I could just accept my situation and live out the rest of my life in abstract poverty with a victim mentality, or I could do something about it and try to get back on my feet. Well, it took the recession a while to kind of ease up, but I finally got over the shock of having lost everything, and I chose to do something. The first thing I did is I began to pray. I prayed for help because by then I was 60 years old. I was broke. I didn't have a plan, and I needed guidance. Honestly, I just needed guidance. And I prayed for a miracle. And on the 4th of July, 2013, I got the first piece of my little miracle. God came through. And today, my spiritual life, my emotional life, my family life, my financial life, they're in a better place than they've ever been. And you may be wondering why I am sharing this personal, extremely personal information. Well, because I want you to know this. I want you to know that no matter where you are right now, no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're going through, I can relate to you. Okay? I also want you to know that God has a plan for you, and I believe that that's why you're here today. So let me share my screen, and I want to give you a high-level overview of our proprietary legacy building investment strategy. Okay, so give me a second here. I'll share my screen and we can get started here. Okay, so our program is called the Investor's Circle of Life. And I personally like that name. The program has actually 3 components. Of course, it has an investment component. And today I will be showing you that investment component, which consists of investing in multifamily properties, single family properties, and other cash flowing investments. We're going to talk about that. It also has a management component, which I'll be sharing with you today how that's structured. And it also has a legacy component. And at the end of the day, we are all trying to leave something and make life better for our children, our grandchildren, and our heirs, right? That's kind of what we want to get accomplished. The first thing that I'd like to say about the investment component is this. You won't find it on Wall Street. And I know that this goes against everything you've ever been taught about investing, but I believe that stocks and mutual funds and cryptocurrency and oil wells and precious metals and all the other Wall Street products are more on the gambling spectrum than they are on the investment spectrum. And I get pushback from people on that when I say that. But think about it. When you purchase a stock or some other Wall Street product, the reality is that you cross your fingers and you hope that the market moves in your favor, right? So let me ask you, how is that any different than placing a bet on a table, rolling the dice, and hoping that your number comes up? To me, it's the same thing. As investors, I recommend that we start to function and start to think more like bankers. You see, I think we can all agree that banks are masters of money. And when a bank deploys capital, they're not hoping to make a profit, are they? They build their profits into their transaction, into their paperwork. Banks require legally enforceable contracts and a pledge of collateral when they deploy their capital, don't they? I mean, for example, the mortgage on your home. Think about that. The mortgage on your home. You're required to pay the bank every month, regardless of what happens to the stock market. Doesn't matter if the real estate market crashes, you still have to pay your mortgage payment. And that mortgage payment is the profit for the bank, right? It contains their profit, the interest. Now, for the bank, that's an investment. That's not a gamble. They're not hoping to make a profit. They are going to make a profit. And that's how we structure all of our investments in our Circle of Life program. And even outside of our Circle of Life program, under our Everly May investment strategy, we always structure it so that we have contractual profits and collateral. So we're currently accepting investor partners into one of our funds. It's called the Florida Paradise Fund. Now, the Florida Paradise Fund is a 10-year, I have a 10-year plan. We're going to be building 1,000 apartments and 2,400 homes in Florida over the next 7 to 10 years. As you probably heard, when an investor is considering investing in real estate, there's 3 important things that you should always consider. And what are they? Location, location, and location. Well, we chose Florida because it is the ideal location. Florida is directly in something called the path of progress. If you're not familiar with the path of progress, here's how it works. Humans are migratory animals. That's us, right? We migrate, we move around. And where we go, we bring progress with us. We bring industry, we bring schools, we bring community. All of that comes with us when we move. That's called progress. And where people are moving is called the path of progress. And what we know is this. Right now, Florida is smack dab in the middle of the path of progress. Our research has shown us that is where it is the fastest growing state in our country. As a matter of fact, last year, 365,000 people relocated to the Sunshine State. 365,000. But it's not just families moving there, it's also companies. Florida leads the nation in corporate relocations. Over the past few years, a lot of corporations have relocated to Florida. Companies like Blackstone, Lockheed Martin, Goldman Sachs, Carvana, right? Bloomberg Capital, Citadel, Microsoft. A lot of companies have put either their headquarters there or major divisions of their corporations there. And they do it for several reasons. One of the big reasons is that Florida has no state income tax. But beyond that, Florida also has a very business-friendly environment. The government there is friendly towards business, and business is looking for a friend, right? So if you couple a business-friendly environment, no income tax, no state income tax, with high-paying jobs, a top-ranked educational system, a world-class recreational environment, and year-round fun in the sun, you got yourself a winner. And that's exactly what we have with Florida. As a matter of fact, according to the Florida Apartment Association, Florida is going to need an additional 570,000 new doors by 2030. That's just 6 years. And you've heard of supply and demand, right? Well, Florida absolutely has the demand for housing, and our plan is simple. We're going to supply those housing, as much of it as we can possibly supply. We currently have 3 major projects going in Florida right now, what we call the Florida Path of Progress. I call it our Florida Paradise Fund. And the 3 projects that we have going in Florida right now are the Coconut Palm Apartment Development Project, the Sunrise Subdivision Development Project, and the Old Hammock Cove Executive Community Development Project. Those are the 3 projects that we have going right now under one of our funds. But let's first look at the Coconut Palm Project. Over the last 2 years, we have quietly acquired enough land to build 300 apartments in the city of Palm Bay. We're going to build 1,000, as I said, 1,000 apartments, condominium style, throughout Central Florida. We're building them condominium style because if the market shifts, then we can sell them off as condominiums. We don't have to just necessarily rent them out. So we're going to have 2 very viable and profitable exit strategies available to us. So that's a part of our strategy. And between now and 2030, we're going to build 1,000 of these units, as I mentioned. We're building them in the city. We started in the city of Palm Bay. The reason that we chose Palm Bay is because Palm Bay is consistently ranked as one of the 5 fastest growing cities in Florida. Palm Bay is also the largest city in the county of Brevard. It's called Brevard County, Florida, right? It's the largest city there. Now, Brevard County, if you're not familiar with it, that is ground zero for the aerospace industry in America. That's where spaceships get launched from, satellites get launched from there. You know, all of the big companies are there. SpaceX, Lockheed Martin, right? Blue Origin, even Cape Canaveral is there, and many others. There are many others. There's more than 17,000 aerospace companies in Florida. 17,000 companies in the aerospace industry. I mean, that's huge in one state. Even the latest branch of the military, the Space Force, they have a base in this county. So Brevard County is the place to be. It's got high-paying jobs, lots of engineers. They're literally rocket scientists. It has more rocket scientists in Brevard County than anywhere else in the country. You know, people say, oh, it's not rocket science. Well, in Brevard County, it is rocket science. So our project is right there. We're providing the housing for that group of people right there. We are clearly in the path of progress, okay? As I said, right there in Brevard County, we have some of the major companies. We projected that over the next 6 years, here's what's going to happen. We're going to be investing heavily to build these units there. We're going to invest about $180 million to build these units. We're going to be able to sell these units, these condominiums for about $240 million, which will create a $58 million profit after all the dust settles from this project. And by the way, we share the profit with our investor partners. I should also mention that we give our investor partners a preferred return too. It's anywhere from 8 to 12%. So our investor partners get an 8 to 12% preferred return, plus they get some of the upside on the profit on top of that. So that's what we do. And this is one of the projects that's a part of our Florida Sunshine, of our Florida Paradise Project. Let me show you the next project in our Florida Paradise Project bundle. The next project is called the Sunrise Subdivision Development Project. We picked up 516 acres of land right along Interstate 95, which is the primary corridor for people moving north to south in Florida on the eastern seaboard, right? So we picked up 516 acres of land there. We bought this land. I thought this was kind of cool. We bought this land from the Walton family. Now, if you're not familiar with the Walton family, they're the second richest family on earth. They're the heirs of Sam Walton, the guy that founded Walmart, right? These are his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. That's who owned that land. Like us, the Waltons recognize the opportunity that's going on in Florida, and they have substantial holdings in the Sunshine State. They own a lot of land down there. Here's what we're going to do with those 516 acres. We're going to build 1,500 median price homes, single-family homes. We're also going to put in 6 man-made lakes in the community, 3 community pools with clubhouses where people can get together with their friends and family and have birthday parties and, you know, cool off, just have fun. We're also building a retail shopping center right at the entrance to the subdivision with grocery store and other small, small businesses where people can run their small businesses. And the rest of the community in the area can benefit from this shopping center. And to kind of give it a more natural feel too, we've dedicated 150 acres to be a nature preserve wetland. And we're building hiking trails through there so that people can go for walks and just enjoy themselves out there. I think it's going to be a great place for people to live. That's our Sunrise Project. And here are the numbers on the Sunrise Project. We expect to be able to sell those 1,500 homes for about $726 million. We're going to spend $550 million to buy the land, to build them out, get all the entitlements done with the county and the city and the state. And by the way, most of that's done already. And after the dust settles, we expect to make a net profit, bottom line profit of $176 million from this project. And as I said on the last project, we share the profits with our investor partners. And the final project that I want to talk about today is our Old Hammock Cove project. Old Hammock Cove. Here's what we did there. We acquired 1,440 acres of land, about 45 minutes north of Orlando. If you're not familiar with Orlando in Florida is where Walt Disney World is, and it's the major area for tourists, right? And entertainment. So we're about 45 minutes north of there, and we're on a lake, on Lake Griffin. And what we're going to do there is we're going to build 870 executive style homes. These homes will sell for right around $1 million each. Okay, 870 of them. We're also going to be building luxury townhomes there, some luxury condominiums there, and golf villas as well. And because this is a higher end community, we plan to build an 18-hole golf course for the community, right? So that's a part of it. It's nice when you have 1,400 acres, you can do a lot of things. And because we're on a lake, to make this an even more exclusive community, we're going to build a private marina for our residents. This will give them a place that they can moor their boats and their other watercraft. It's going to be a really popular community for people that are in the higher income levels. We anticipate generating a net profit on this transaction of about $375 million over the next 7 to 10 years. We're going to be able to sell those homes for just under $1 billion, about $958 million in revenue from the sale of those homes. We're going to invest $583 million to buy, develop, and build and sell those properties. And then we should pocket, as I said, about $375 million. Again, these profits will be shared with the people that have invested with us. So that gives you some idea, okay, of what we're doing. That's our Paradise Fund. So that is the investment side of it. But if you remember, I said there's an investment component, there's a management component, and then there's a legacy component, right? For the investor's circle of life. So I just showed you the investment component. And I know that there's more details that you may want to know. But today I just want to give you a high-level overview. If you want to know, you want to drill down into those investment opportunities, we can do that outside of this meeting, and I have information I can send to you, okay? All you need to do is just let me know that you want to get it. I'll get you the information. They're great investments, and they will stand a stress test. They will withstand a stress test. I'm not worried about that. So let's talk about the management component, okay? Because if you're going to be building out a legacy, especially when it goes multi-generational, then you're going to need to have some mechanism in place for managing things. Well, the fact that you're here today is evidence to me that you have a leadership role within your own family. We know that as leaders, you've taken steps that some other people in your family have not taken and may not ever take, right? I mean, you read books, you do research, you're making a capital investment, you're doing things that many family members will never do. But they look to you for leadership. And if your family is ever going to benefit from a multi-generational financial legacy, I can tell you from personal experience, someone's going to need to make that decision and make that transition for the family. I chose in my family to be that person. I call it being the difference maker. I chose to be the difference maker in my own family. I'm hoping that you want to be the difference maker in your family. I'm going to show you here right now how you can do that with our Circle of Life program. So let's talk about the management. To manage your investment and your legacy moving forward, the best tool to do so is a trust. Most people are aware of that, right? People say, oh, I have a trust. There are several types of trust. Most people are aware of the trust known as a living trust. This is a very popular trust. Probably the most popular type of trust that's out there is the living trust. People use this trust to pass their wealth, to pass their stuff on to the next generation, right? And to avoid government interference in their estate plan. And it's a very good tool for that purpose. But the living trust is really very limited. It's good for you passing your legacy on to the very next generation, but it really doesn't do very well for going beyond that, for like your grandkids, your great-grandkids, your great-great-grandkids. It doesn't really go there. Your living trust in most states will self-destruct not long after you pass. That's how it works, okay? And so it doesn't carry on. And so there's another type of trust called a dynasty trust that we use with the Investor Circle of Life program, because the dynasty trust goes on for up to 360 years. And what's interesting is most people don't even know about the dynasty trust. They've never heard of it. Even my trust attorney, the attorney that did my living trust, when I brought to her the idea of a dynasty trust, she was like, I'm not familiar with that. And that's understandable, because dynasty trusts are not available in all 50 states. They're only available in 5 states, the last I checked. And so you need to know where to get a dynasty trust, and then you need to have an attorney that is familiar with how to draft a dynasty trust if you're going to be doing that. Well, we have a relationship with an attorney that drafts dynasty. He is a specialist in dynasty trust, and he is a part of our program. So a dynasty trust is a multi-generational trust that will last for 360 years. And it doesn't simply transfer your stuff to the next generation. It also provides instructions and guidance for growing the assets that you leave for your family and for managing those assets so that your bloodline will benefit from it for almost 400 years. You see, when you engage in our program, the Investor Circle of Life program, your wisdom gets passed on too, not just your stuff. Your values get passed on because it's all built into your dynasty trust. And your heirs for the next 400 years will know your name. They'll know who you are, and they will thank you for the decisions that you made today, because what I'm going to show you here in just a couple more minutes is going to blow your mind. And I'm going to show you how you are going to change the financial future of your family forever. Yes, of course, you're an investor now. Yes, of course, you can invest in our fund if you're eligible to invest in our fund. But beyond that, you can do so much more. So I created the Dynasty Trust because I wanted to be able to share my faith and the things and the life lessons that I've learned with my unborn heirs. I want them to benefit from financially from what I've done, of course, but I also want them to benefit spiritually and in other ways from the lessons, life lessons that I've learned. And so that's why I suggested Dynasty Trust. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this or not. I don't know if this strikes a chord with you, but for me, it was very, very important. So if you can relate to this, great. Put it into the chat. Hey, I can relate. And if you're interested in the Dynasty Trust, let me just go on and share a little bit more information with you about how this stuff works. Okay. Now, the third and final piece of the puzzle, as I mentioned to you, there's 3 pieces: the investment component, the management component, and then the legacy component. So the third and final piece of the legacy component that I want to share with you is life insurance. And I thought that was kind of strange when I first saw this 3 years ago. I was like, really? Life insurance? Well, as it turns out, yes, life insurance, but not traditional life insurance the way that I had always thought of life insurance and the way a lot of people think of life insurance. There are different types of life insurance. The type of life insurance that I'm talking about is a specially engineered and designed whole life insurance policy issued by a mutual life insurance company, not a stock company, a mutual life insurance company. It's a very specific life insurance product. I love it because with this product, you build cash value very quickly when you structure these life insurance policies. And I'm going to show you in a minute how it all three pieces interact together in a circular motion. That's why we call it the circle of life. Webster defines a legacy as something that's transmitted by or received from an ancestor or a predecessor. And you guys are very special people. And I know that you're working and investing to create a better life for yourself. But I also know that you want to create a better life for your future, a better life for your future family members, right? Your grandchildren, your children, and their children, and so forth. The Investor Circle of Life program creates a strong financial legacy, but it does it on autopilot when you set it up the way that we have it structured. Okay? It creates a very strong financial legacy, and it self-funds once you get the engine going. No one has to pay anything to keep the engine running. It's a pretty impressive program. Our program funnels the profits from your investments into your whole life insurance policies that are owned by your Dynasty Trust. What happens is your Dynasty Trust takes ownership of life insurance policies on your entire family. Like in my case, I think I have 22 or 23 policies, something like that, with all of my children, my grandchildren, even a nephew and his family are a part of our trust. And what that does, the life insurance, as we each die, which obviously all of us will, as each of us dies, the life insurance proceeds go right into the Dynasty Trust, which the Dynasty Trust can then use those proceeds to buy more investments, right? Like this Florida stuff, right? To buy more investments. And so that's why I said it self-funds. And the investments generate cash. I suggest investing in cash flowing assets, right? So assets that generate cash flow. The investments generate more cash, which goes back into the legacy trust, the Dynasty Trust, which then can be used to buy more life insurance, which generates cash value, which can then be used to invest in more assets. That's the circular motion. And I have this built in my family, guys, and it's been an amazing thing. I structured mine to work like this. First, I started by investing in income-producing assets. I started by buying mortgage-backed promissory notes because they pay interest every single month, right? Then I take that interest that I earned and I put that into my Dynasty Trust. My Dynasty Trust then takes that money and uses that money to buy life insurance policies on my family members. And by the way, one of the things that I decided to do with my Dynasty Trust is offer my family members some of the death benefit for their heirs. And what I mean by that is this. Let's say I have a $100,000 life insurance policy on a family member. If that family member dies, a percentage of that $100,000 will go to his or her surviving family members, right? Their wife, their spouse, their husband, their kids, whatever, wherever they decide. So, but the rest of it stays in the trust for the benefit of all family members. And then the fourth thing that we do is we invest we invest the cash value from those life insurance policies into more income producing assets, and it becomes self-generating, profit generating a machine, I guess is the best word to use it to use. It's a machine, and it builds wealth for your family. As the process repeats itself again and again and again, that's why we call it the circle of life. Isn't that brilliant? It's a great way for you to invest your money and to build financial wealth for your family moving forward. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. So, as family members die, as I mentioned, as family members, can we say graduate maybe rather than die? The proceeds go tax-free, income tax-free into the trust. So within one generation, there's going to be millions of dollars in your family trust. Within 2 or 3 generations, there will be tens of millions of dollars in your family's trust. You are literally changing the financial future of your family moving forward, and you're putting it on autopilot when you structure it under our program. It's a very unique program. Nobody's ever talked to you about this kind of thing because most people don't even know that this can be done. Okay? Let me show you something else too. I designed my family dynasty trust to serve as a family bank. So the money that's in there right now, we can invest that money right now into income producing assets, or if a family member needs that money, they can borrow it and they can pay it back with interest. Think about this. If someone were going to buy a car, well, I'll just use an actual example. One of my family members last month, the month of August, wanted to buy a car. And so rather than going to get financing outside the family and paying interest to, let's say, Toyota or whoever, right? That same family member borrowed the money from our trust and is paying interest to our trust. Now that money that would have gone to Toyota is literally coming back into our family so that the next family member will have access not only to the original principal, but also to the interest that would have gone out of the family forever. That's brilliant stuff. Really brilliant stuff. And I can tell you guys, not many families do this, but most of the very wealthy families do set it up this way. One of the benefits that I have found by doing this, by the way, this is just a personal benefit, is that I no longer worry about leaving a legacy because I know I have the I know that I have the insurance policies that are there, that are on covered my life. That's going to take care of my family moving forward. So it gave me a lot of peace of mind. It makes me feel very comfortable and comforted knowing that no matter what happens, even if my investments don't do well, my family is going to be fine. But when you invest the way that we suggest, your investments do well because we don't just put our money in the stock market and cross our fingers. You see how it's all interrelated? It's contractual. We know our investments are going to do well. We don't have to wonder if our investments are going to do well. We know they're going to do well. And then we know what happens to that money. That money goes right back into the trust, which goes into more insurance policies, which spins off more cash flow and more cash value, which can then be used to buy more investments. Brilliant stuff, guys. Brilliant stuff. So what you've just learned is called the power of the investor circle of life. And as I said at the outset, the Everly Made Capital Group is much more than just another real estate fund. You know, there's lots of funds out there. If all you want to just put your money into some real estate fund, then go do it. But if you want to put your money into a real estate fund that actually makes a good return for you while you're alive, pays you good cash flow while you're alive, and builds a future for your family that is unparalleled. Can you imagine if your great-grandfather or grandfather had done something like this for you, where you'd be today? By the way, I should mention this too. One of my partners, he's a physician, a physician. His grandfather did do this. This was the first time I had actually heard of it. His grandfather had done exactly what I'm talking about here for their family. And when he went to medical school, he used family funds to pay for college. He didn't get a student loan from outside the family. And when he graduated and he started his own practice and bought a building to run his practice in, his medical practice in, he borrowed $750,000 from the family bank rather than from some other bank. And each month he pays the mortgage payment with interest to the family bank. Just makes sense. It just makes sense. And so when I saw that, I thought, yeah, I'm doing that. And it doesn't take very much money to get started. You guys are already investing. All you've really got to do is just move your money around the way we teach you how to do it. So now I have a very important question for you. Okay. I have a very important question for you. Let me stop sharing my screen here. There we go. The important question that I have for you is, now that you've seen this, what are you going to do about it? Okay. What are you going to do about it? Because the truth is, time flies, right? The time flies. And the older I get, it seems like to me the faster time goes. Have you guys noticed that? So just keeping it real, you and I both know that if you put this on the back burner and say, boy, this sounds good, I'm going to get to that eventually. Wow, that sounds good. I'm going to think about that. You know, and I know, you're probably never going to do anything with it. A week is going to go by. A month is going to go by. A year is going to go by. 2 years are going to go by. And you still will not have done this. So I'm just going to really strongly suggest to you that if this resonates with you, you should text me your name and number and just say, you know, I'm interested. And I will send you a link to my calendar. And you can schedule a time to talk with me, and I can answer all your questions. If you want more information about our investment, the Florida Paradise Fund, I can get that over to you. But you should reach out to me. And I'm going to answer questions here right now. As I said, I'll stick around for 10 minutes or so to answer questions if you guys have questions. But I want to encourage you that if this does resonate with you, schedule a time to get your questions answered. You can text me right now if you'd like. My phone number, I'll put it into the chat. My phone number is 951-551-0087. Desi, 951-551-0087. I'll put that right into the chat for those of you that want to send that over to me. Text me. I will send you back a link to my calendar. You can find a time that works for you. I'm going to suggest that if you're going to get on my calendar, schedule a time that you and your significant other can get on with you, because you guys are going to have questions. But this is such a life-changing thing that you're going to love it. I can tell you at the very beginning, my family, they were kind of confused about what I was doing. But now that they have embraced it, they love it. And they literally, one by one, have taken me to the side to say, my gosh, this is so fabulous what you've done for our family. How can we thank you? And I say, just love me. And I love you. Just, that's it. We're just loving on each other. If you guys want that, you can have that. Okay? Ken says, what is the minimum investment? The minimum investment to get started with us is $50,000 in our Florida Paradise Fund. And as that money generates income, which it does generate income every month, you can funnel that over, you can cycle that through the process to start putting those insurance policies in place. The rate of return depends on several things, but the rate of return are anywhere from 8 to 12%. On an individual basis, I can take a look at where you guys are, and I'm looking at questions in the chat here. I can take a look at where you guys are, and I can give you guys your quote. If you like our numbers, great. If you like our numbers, great. If you're not an accredited investor, you can still invest in the Florida project, but you're going to do it through, I think I have 5 more slots for non-accredited investors. For those of you that don't know what that is, an accredited investor is a person that's basically wealthy, okay? You got to have $1 million net worth, or you got to be earning somewhere around $200,000 a year for the last 2 years. So for most folks, they're not accredited, but I do have the ability to take on a certain number of non-accredited investors, and I can have up to 35 of them, and I believe I have number 30. I think I have 30 right now, so I've got like 5 spots open where I could have a non-accredited investor. So if you guys are interested in that, as I said, you want to get back with me, those spots will go quickly, I'm sure, especially now that we've just rolled out this new program, the Circle of Life program. This is a game changer, guys. This is a game changer. When you're investing with us, there's a 36-month lockdown. So your funds are locked down for 36 months. And then after that, if you wanted to withdraw them, you could. So that's always an option. But we do ask you to give us a chance to use your money to make some money, right? We're building out this stuff. Now, I'm saying 36 months, but it could be less, because as we are closing out our projects, we start to share profits. But also, if during those closeouts, if there's someone that needs something, we do have provisions in all of our documentation that you can, in an emergency situation, you can withdraw your money prior to 36 months. It's just like having money in a certificate of deposit, a CD with a bank, right? Let's say you have a 5-year CD with Bank of America. You can take your money out before 5 years. There's just a small penalty. We have exactly the same situation, okay? Other questions, guys? Other questions? Put them into the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them. Courtney asked the question, what are the benefits of using a trust, living or dynasty, as opposed to a will? Very good question, Courtney. Actually, you use both. You use both. And so here's what I have set up for myself. A will, let me just say this. A will is used to pass specific things on to people to your survivors. Your trust incorporates a will inside it, but the trust is bigger than just the will. In your trust, as I said earlier, you can actually leave not just stuff, you can control a lot of things. I hate to use that word control, but from the grave, you can control the way things go down inside this trust even 100 years from now, because it's irrevocable once you pass. These trusts, these dynasty trusts in particular, they are revocable while you're alive, but once you pass, they become irrevocable. And that means they're in stone. And your heirs have to abide by the terms of that trust if they want to participate in that trust. But you want to have a will, and you want to have trust, and you want to have medical directives. And by the way, you get all of that. I didn't say this earlier, but you get all of that as a part of our program. You get the medical directives, you get the will, you get a living trust, you get the dynasty trust. All of that's part of the program. And you get great returns investing in our hot projects that we got going on in Florida. There's not a better way to invest out there. In my opinion, there's not another company out there that can compete with what we have to offer. The question comes up here in the chat. How often do you have an opportunity call? I don't know what that means, opportunity call. Not sure what that actually means. So Ken, if you could maybe clarify that a bit for me in the chat, and I will be happy to answer that question. Let's see what else we got going on here. All right. Courtney says, thank you. Oh, yeah. Well, I will be doing this presentation probably every 2 weeks. That's my plan, is every 2 weeks for probably the rest of the year, but maybe not. I don't know. But right now we're scheduled for every 2 weeks. Okay. But you don't have to wait for this. You can always just text me. I will send you back a link to my calendar, and we can talk at any point. Okay. And I'll do something that I call a legacy audit with you. We'll kind of see where things are, and then I can give you a prescription on what you can do to kind of get things moving the way you want them to go. Give you some direction. Okay. So my number is 951-551-0087. You can just text over to me that you're in, and then I will get you back my calendar link. And if you know anyone that should hear this, they can come on in 2 weeks, right? They can come on in 2 weeks. And I'll do it again at probably the same time on a Friday, a couple of weeks from now. Other questions in the chat? I'll wait here another minute or so. If there are no other questions, then we'll just wrap this up. And I did get a bunch of text messages here, so I will be sending out my link to my calendar to you guys so that you guys can get on my calendar and we can actually have a one-on-one conversation. I can answer your questions. Oh yeah, Courtney. Courtney asked a question. Great question. I didn't mention this. Courtney asked, can you invest with a retirement account like an IRA, 401k, that kind of thing? The question is absolutely, positively yes. Okay, this is an eligible investment to comply with IRS guidelines on what is eligible and what is not eligible. This is eligible. Okay, this is eligible. Leo asked the question, what would the audit look like? Basically, what we do in the audit is I spend a bunch of time with you, half an hour or more, just kind of talking with you about what you have right now, what it is you would like to get accomplished, what resources you have available to you. And oftentimes I can help people recognize resources that they did not even realize were good resources for them. And then I'll give you my recommendations. There's no cost, there's no obligation. It's just you get to take advantage of my experience, the things that I've done, the things that I know. And from there, you decide if it makes sense for you. If it does, great. If it doesn't, that's no harm, no foul. So that's why I'm suggesting to you guys, let's just get together and talk. There's nothing for you to lose, okay? Tina asked, how often is my presentation? I mentioned that earlier. Every 2 weeks right now, I will be doing this presentation to answer questions for people that have questions about this topic, okay? And to share this fantastic opportunity. I think it's just fantastic. I know what it's done for my family. I know what it's done. It's actually brought my family closer together. One of the things that I do too with my family, and I'll just share this with you guys as a little bit of an aside. One of the things that I have done with my family is I set up a family council of elders. You have to be 30 years old or older to be on the family council. There are 5 members of the family council, and we use that as a dispute resolution between family members. There's so much you can do once you set this thing up and you set it up properly. Besides, of course, investing, but there's other things. I also have mine structured so that after there's a certain amount of money in our trust, there will be annual distributions to all of the adult members of my bloodline, just direct descendants only. But there'll be an annual distribution of money, not a lot, but something. Every month, every year, right before Christmas, everybody will get a check. So those are things that you can do too. It's really a great thing, and it just brings your family closer together. Once a year now, we have a family meeting where we talk about our trust, and everybody gets together, and we get a chance to actually connect, because so many families today are drifting apart. Maybe even in your family, they're drifting apart. This has literally brought us back together. We now have a family Facebook group, which we never had before, and people are active in there. It's really been cool. If you haven't done this, you should seriously consider setting this up, guys. All right. Do we get a deck to look at? Well, you don't get a deck to look at, but I do have a private placement memorandum, and I also have an executive summary for you, for those of you that are interested. And when you send me over send me over the text, I'll make sure you get all those things. You'll have the private placement memorandum and the executive summary about what it is that we're doing from the investment side of this. And then once we do your audit, if you want to do a legacy audit, once we do that, if you want to move forward, then I will be introducing you to the attorney that's going to be drafting your dynasty trust for you, and also your living trust. And you guys can just move on from there. But in the meantime, you could be investing and earning money from day one, because we start paying interest the day after we receive your money. So if we receive your money on Monday, you start earning interest on Tuesday. Preferred interest on Tuesday. All right. Very good, guys. It doesn't look like there are any other questions that have popped up in here. So I want to thank you all for your time today. I know I went a little bit long, but hopefully you got some value out of this. And I hope to see you guys very soon by text or by phone, or at least on the session 2 weeks from today. God bless you all. Have a great day. Thank you so much.